Okay, so what we need to do here is I have an equation, f of x equals 3x to the fourth plus 9x squared plus 8x to the 16th power. And I want to ask you, what type of symmetry does this function have? Is it going to be even, is it going to be odd, or is it going to be neither? So what we're looking for is this, and I'm going to ask you to justify your answer as well. So I want to kind of walk you through this. What I'm looking for is if f of negative x equals f of x, it's going to be even. If f of negative x equals negative f of x is going to be odd. Now, if neither one of these is true, it's going to be a neither. So let's take a look at this. First thing is you have to kind of know what this means. If I put a negative x in for all of my x's, I should get the original starting function. So my original starting function is 3x to the fourth plus 9x squared plus 8x to the 16th. If I get exactly the same thing, then it's an even function. If what this means, this negative right here means all of my signs have to change. Not a single sign can stay the same. So all the signs have to change. So if I put a negative x in and then all of a sudden I get a negative 3x to the fourth minus 9x squared minus 8x to the 16th, that would be an odd function. But we don't know yet if this is an even or odd function. What we have to do is we need to figure out is it even or odd, and I'm going to ask you to justify. Now, you know in my class with justify, you're going to have to show me the math that you're doing, and then you're going to have to state it. You're going to have to explain in a complete sentence why the answer is the answer. So let's kind of do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do f of negative x, because both of these have negative x. And what this means is I'm going to plug negative x in everywhere there's an x in the original equation. So I'm going to have 3 times negative x to the fourth power plus 9 times negative x squared plus 8 negative x to the 16th. Notice how I put parentheses around this. You're going to want to put parentheses around this so you can kind of think through this so you don't make many mistakes. All right, so let's just evaluate this. So I have my 3. That's not going to change. Now I have negative x to the fourth. Well, that's a negative x times a negative x. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so there's 2 of them. I'm going to multiply it by another negative x. That's going to be a negative, and I'll multiply by another negative x, and that's going to be positive. What I did was this, negative x times negative x. This gives me x. Then x times negative x gives me negative x. Now I have a negative x times another negative x. This gives me x. If you count, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 negative x's. My answer is x. This becomes x to the fourth, because this is squared cubed to the fourth. I do the same thing here. Here's the bell. Hold on. All right. Now we have 9. Well, negative x times negative x. Well, negative times a negative is positive, and x times x is x squared. All right. And then I have my plus 8. And let's see, negative. Well, if I take it to the 16th power, well, if I keep doing this over and over and over and over again, I'm going to get x to the 16th power. Now, there is a shortcut to this. If you just look, even, that's already going to tell me it's an even function, because if your exponent is going to be an even number, you will not get a negative answer. You're not going to get a negative x. If it is odd, you'll get a negative, and we'll work one in a second. So if you look here, I started with 3x to the fourth plus 9x squared plus 8x to the 16th. When I put the negative x in, I got 3x to the fourth plus 9x squared plus 8x to the 16th power. So I got the exact same thing back. So this is an even function. So this is your first part of your justify. You need to show me this action. Next is, since f of negative x equals f of x, since f of negative x equals f of x, it can be stated that f of x is an even function which is symmetric about the y-axis. Done. This whole thing is, when I say justify, I'm looking for this whole thing. I want to see your action of plugging the negative x in and your math, and then I need a complete sentence explaining why, what this is actually doing, why you did this, and what this actually means. All right, so let's look at this. If I have f of x, let's just do x cubed plus x squared minus 5. And I want to see, is this an even, odd, or neither, if I want to determine the symmetry of this function. So the first thing we need to do, and this is going to be a justify, so I want you to justify your answer. So we need to do f of negative x. We're going to take the negative x and we're going to plug it in everywhere. I'm going to have negative x cubed plus negative x squared minus 5. Now, what we're looking for is either we get the exact same function back, or, and that if we do, that would be even, or every single sign changes in the equation, and that would be an odd. But if you get any type of combination where you don't get the exact same thing back, or not every single sign changes, then it's going to be a neither function. All right, so let's look. A negative times a negative is a positive, and we multiply by another negative, I'm going to get a negative. So this is negative x cubed plus, well, here's an even, so this is going to be x squared, and then this is minus 5. So I'm going to compare it to the original function. I have a positive x cubed, a negative x cubed. So at this point, this is in the running to be an odd only, but that means every single sign must change. I have a positive x squared and a positive x squared. Well, hey, that didn't change. Well, now it can't be odd, and we didn't get the exact same thing back, so it can't be even. So this is a neither function. So this is the first part of your justify. You've got to go through this. And then you can say, since f of negative x does not equal f of x, and f of negative x does not equal negative f of x, the function, here's the bill again, the function f of x is neither even or odd, so symmetry cannot be determined. C-E-R. And I'm not going to take off or spell it as long as I get the general gist of what you're doing. All right, so in this case, this is a neither function. Now, the hard part of this is going to actually be explaining why, because I'm going to want you to write the why. So this whole thing, when I say justify in my class, I'm going to want to see the math, and I want to see a written explanation of why, analyzing, telling me what this actually tells me. Because if you just say neither, well, okay, cool. What neither is just a word. But this way, if I read this, I understand what neither actually means. Hi, I'm Mr. Buzzard, and these videos are supplemental instruction for my students. If you found the video enjoyable, make sure you click the like button and click subscribe, as well as the bell for notifications to receive future videos on high school mathematics.